The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And download every episode and more at basicallyasportshow.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg,
Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
So yeah, we're solving your water crisis, Zach.
We already solved the gas problem.
Yep.
Oh, good.
Mike and I, we really used this time productively today.
Oh, yeah.
You're solutions-oriented folks, I gotta say.
Normally we're around here talking about jerseys and stuff before the show starts, but today we actually put our minds to work.
I thought it would be more optimistic than talking about the idiocy on the boards lately.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Guys, I just don't. I'm not even starting to wade into that thread or any of those threads.
Which one? The Florida State thread or the Confederate flag thread? Or
well, the Florida State one's just dumb. Don't hate women.
Does anybody remember around 6 months when said that he and his band had created their hit song?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. They were going to change the music industry.
So are we going to hear that anytime soon? Or
Dude, I posted 3 videos on the asylum yesterday. Come on. What more do you guys want?
He drove his race car so fast he went back in time.
He might have.
The music that defines a generation, I think, was the way you put it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I guess definition is open to interpretation. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing, just that it's a definition.
To you, Zach, to Dennis, and to Adam, I can only say try not to order Domino's because...
Well, luckily he's not well within my range. I know he's not within Adam's range because he lives out in Rancho Cucamonga. One of my favorite city names.
California has the best names.
Rancho Cucamonga, home of the Quakes.
Like, I forget the town that you're in, Zach, but when I mailed you the chocolate Stanley Cup, I was like, that town has such a cool name.
Laguna Niguel.
Ah, yes.
Right next to Laguna Beach and Laguna Hills and Laguna Woods.
Isn't there a city out there called El Segundo?
That's where the Lakers and Kings practice.
Okay, because one of my nicknames for my cat Vinny is I call him Segundo all the time, based off El Segundo. Don't ask me why.
Segundo.
These poor cats, they don't really even know what their real names are anymore because they have about 80 nicknames each.
Well, my
Vincent Beauregard.
My cat's name is Rampage. I call her Rammy, but I also tend to also call her Boobala.
Yeah, see? Now, is there an explanation for that name, or is it just a
Boobala?
Yeah.
It's a term Jewish people use as a term of endearment to loved ones.
Okay.
El Segundo, by the way, Greg?
Yes.
In English, El Segundo means the second.
Ah.
I thought you were going to say it meant La Segundo.
Segundo in Spanish means the Segundo. No, it's the second as in number 2.
Okay.
As it was the site of the second Standard Oil refinery on the West Coast.
Ah, well.
In 1911.
Okay.
El Segundo, as opposed to being just the home of the Lakers and Kings practice facilities, it's also home to Mattel, DirecTV.
Mattel, really?
Yeah.
So do they have an outlet store or anything where you can pick up slightly irregular Mattel toys for cheap or anything like that?
Well, it's Mattel HQ.
It's where you can buy the fat Barbies.
And funny enough, El Segundo's Wikipedia page has an aerial view of Mattel headquarters.
Oh, yeah, the giant Mattel logo out front.
Oh, yeah, I saw that on I was looking at like one of those crazy pictures from Google Earth things, whatever, and I saw that, yeah.
Anyway.
So they don't actually have a manufacturing plant there. That's just where the offices and all that are.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
But they do have a Boeing Satellite Development Center there.
Cool.
Everyone manufactures all their shit out in China now. So
yeah, unfortunately.
No, the stupidness has kind of apexed, I think, the Tennessee state flag discussion, which I had to split off from a Tennessee Titans uniform discussion. But that sort of became the dumping ground for Confederate flag discussions, and says, well, first got the crazy train started. I think every flag should be banned.
Oh, what?
Yes.
Wait.
That guy is priceless.
I just don't think he likes government, like, at all.
I don't think he likes people. I don't think he likes existence.
No. And then
I don't think he likes being a sentient being.
And then responded to, I think a legitimate argument can be made about banning the U.S. flag.
Really?
Yeah.
Based on... Do I even want to know before I ask? Do I even want to know?
I poked the bear. I didn't ask him why. I just responded, and replace it with what? I want to hear his suggestions.
Well, that could get good.
Well, obviously just an empty flagpole.
Well, I was going to say a white flag, just a blank white flag, but that would really send the wrong impression. Although there are some days you just go, hey, you know what, why not?
Like, alternate American flag. I don't know. A flag of Ronald Reagan flying a bald eagle.
I would like us just to go back to the old circle with the 13 stars. I think that's kind of a cool look.
Oh, what about all the other states, huh?
Well, you just get to a point. I don't know if we're ever going to add another state, but 50, if we get to 51 or 52 or 55 or whatever.
Have you ever seen, there's a 51-star concept. It works.
Does it?
Yeah.
It's actually a circle.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, let me look this
No.
up. 51-star flag.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I know that the U.S.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at one. There is one that's a circle, Zach.
Oh, well.
The U.S. government actually has flag designs ready to go up to 56 states.
I see. This is a concept, I'm sure, but here's one with 100. I'm digging the circle one. It's kind of cool.
I like the old-timey American flags where they arrange the stars in the shape of a bigger star.
I'm still reading the El Segundo Wikipedia page.
Oh, okay.
Famous residents of El Segundo.
Greg's cat.
Graduates of El Segundo High School, George Brett.
Pretty good player in his day.
And Ken Brett, his brother.
Right.
Joe Caravello.
I don't know who that is.
Played in the NFL for a little bit, I guess. Scott McGregor.
Pitcher for the Orioles, I believe.
Dave LaRoche.
Dave LaRoche was a pitcher. I want to say a lot of his career was spent with the Cubs.
Paul Westphal.
Basketball coach, right? And player.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he coached LMU and the Lakers. He did this high-tempo running gun.
Right. He was the guy that at Loyola Marymount, right?
Yes.
The point of second thing or whatever, yeah.
Yep. And Roseanne Barr.
Roseanne Barr.
She could really be funny sometimes. Other times she was kind of annoying, but overall, I give her the thumbs up.
I never cared for the show Roseanne. I never got into it.
Nah, I've watched a few episodes. They were okay, but yeah.
See, Mike, I have two problems with this flag concept you posted.
Okay.
The star. 2, the star's upside down.
But actually, this isn't a concept. That was actually used as the national flag of the United States for a period of time.
I'd say it's
the star is upside down. And why are some stars bigger than others? Who gets the biggest star?
Ohio.
Ohio gets the biggest star.
Right. We have the biggest people, so we should get the biggest star.
It also never ends. Driving through Kentucky. Driving to Kentucky. Again, it's a 10-hour drive from my place to Kentucky. Like, something like 7 of those hours were in Ohio.
You don't know long drives and how long are we still in this state until you've driven through the American Southwest.
Or Texas.
I've driven to Winnipeg before, and you would be surprised how far Ontario actually keeps going before you get to Winnipeg.
Well, the other thing that's fun is driving north-south in California.
Oh, my God.
Like, it's 6 hours from here to San Jose. But if you go 6 hours in a different direction, you're
the middle
of the way through Arizona.
Right, or in Nevada somewhere, yeah.
Or...
Right. Yeah, you're in Cabo by that point.
Mexico!
Take a run for the border.
We drove back from Texas one time. My mom
Mike Richards.
Wrong border.
Oh, yeah. We drove back from Texas.
A pocket full of oxycodone and a ticket to the border.
That's right. My mom used to live in Fort Worth, and I drove back to Ohio from there one time, and it was like we left Fort Worth, and 8 hours later, we were still in Texas.
Yeah. Texas is big.
I was like, oh, my God.
I've across Texas once, and plenty of times where I did like 2/3 of the way.
Apparently,
my mom went to school at Texas A&M, and I would visit her every summer.
Oh, my God.
And she'd drive me back to California.
Oh, my God.
And then she'd drive back by herself.
Yeah, but you got to drive. But I guess you got to drive through the ABQ.
We didn't make the wrong turn at Albuquerque.
Zach with a nice Bugs Bunny reference there.
Must have made a left turn at Albuquerque.
Kicking it old school, big time.
With Ontario, it's weird because you drive north and then west, and then you kind of pass through Thunder Bay, and in your mind, like, in everybody...
Ontario now.
Yeah, everyone thinks that, like, Thunder Bay is, like, the deepest, darkest, northernest part of Ontario, and you're like, oh, so we must be in Manitoba. Like, no, there's still at least 6 more hours of just Western Ontario wilderness before we get to Manitoba.
Why can't Manitoba just claim the rest of that?
They try to. They try to. It's actually kind of funny when Manitoba became a province and then Ontario was basically just everything up to like Thunder Bay. There was this huge stretch of wilderness in between Manitoba and Ontario, and Manitoba was like, it's ours. And then Ontario was like, no, it's ours. And then
they settled it with a friendly discussion.
We settled it with a curling tournament.
Well, I guess you wanted it fair and square, eh? Oh, well, I guess we'll have just less moose. Less moose and maple trees.
So it's now Ontario, and every now and then you kind of pass through, like, some old nickel mining town.
And that's where the mystery machine breaks down and the gang has to solve a mystery. Would have got away for it, too, if it weren't for you meddling kids and your dog.
Zach killing it with the cartoon references today. Very nice.
Hey, you know who else used to solve mysteries?
Columbo.
The Harlem Globetrotters.
That's right. Yes.
I loved the Harlem Globetrotter team-ups of Scooby-Doo and the Batman team-ups.
Yeah, Batman and Robin just hook up with Scooby-Doo every now and then.
Didn't the Harlem Globetrotters also do a thing with Gilligan's Island? I mean, the Globetrotters have been everywhere, man.
How would they do that? Did they crash land on the island?
I'm telling you, I swear. I'm going to look it up. I swear they had a thing with Gilligan's Island.
If they didn't crash land, then how come they didn't take them back with them when they left?
I think it might have been after they were rescued or something. I'm not sure.
I remember one of the Scooby-Doo episodes of the Harlem Globetrotters, the bad guy ended up being the coach of the Washington Generals who was trying to tire the Globetrotters out before their game by just keeping them all up all night, like by dressing up as a ghost.
Here it is.
I like how the Washington Generals have one win.
Yeah.
I present to you the Harlem Globetrotters on Gilligan's Island. There you go.
For some reason, the one win seems much more futile than if they were just winless.
If I remember correctly, they got the one win on accident, right?
They got it on accident, and apparently the fans rioted. Like, we came here to see the Harlem Globetrotters embarrass you.
You know, I wish I'd gone to see the Globetrotters on the few chances I've had. I used to love them when I was a kid, but now that seems kind of silly to me. But back then, man, it was just like, wow, these guys are so cool.
Yeah. Though they always came around right around my birthday every year. They always played the pond in mid-February. And I was always like, oh, that'd be neat to go to. And then you just get older and you never go, and you're like, eh.
Exactly.
I mean, I know the gig now.
Right.
I understand how it works.
Ref, that's not a regulation ladder.
Guys, he can't use 2 basketballs. What is this? Traveling, double dribble. Come on. If I was the coach of the Washington Generals, I'd be pulling that shit all game. Just like
Start in the ref's face.
Like, referee, he covered your head with a blindfold and then made a dunk. He can't do that. That's a suspension. Give him a tech.
I guess we can talk about something that we touched on last week. It's official. Olbermann is gone from ESPN.
That's a shame.
Well, yeah, they're not renewing his contract. It's up at the end of the month.
Which basically, and Tello's quibbling, he wasn't fired. In the world of television, if someone chooses not to renew your contract, it's basically firing.
They're also choosing not to bring you back.
Yeah.
Is what's really the issue.
Like Bill Simmons' contract wasn't renewed either, but I think we're all pretty sure that he got fired.
And kind of just going back and seeing some of his old ESPN stuff on YouTube, you kind of get the sense, in retrospect, that this was a long time coming. There was a segment on his show during the NFL's Season from Hell where he had Adam Schefter on.
Yeah.
And Adam Schefter is showing him barely constrained contempt and, like, hatred the entire segment.
I think that's how Schefter just seems all the time. He's a very uptight dude.
Not only that, but my goodness, I mean, is there a bigger shill for the NFL? Well, maybe Peter King.
Peter King, yeah.
But short of Peter King.
I'm like, you could get Mort on. Mort seems
King,
fun.
Who's more of a shill, do you think? Adam Schefter or Jay Glazer?
Wow, that's a tough call.
Jay Glazer's in deep with all those players.
Yeah, that's a tough call.
He actually hangs out with the players.
I'd say Adam Schefter, if only because Glazer might hang out with the players, but Schefter kind of comes off as the kind of guy who wants to hang out with the players.
Yeah, I think with Glazer it's a little more organic, whereas Schefter is kind of like he would really love to be able to do that, but maybe they don't let him. I don't know, but they're both pretty big shills.
And you can just tell that Chris Mortensen hates him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, Mort was the guy until they brought in Schefter.
Yeah,
and then
he blew up Mort's spot.
Yeah.
I got back. You look at this kid up with his BlackBerry.
But, yeah, it's...
I just bribe people to get my stories.
I'm Adam Schefter, and I'm here reporting on a thing because the NFL is my favorite thing.
Good impression, too.
But, so, if you just assume that Adam
The
Schefter...
Giants have reported, now this, I don't know if this is true, but the Giants have reported, and sources confirm, etc.
Yeah. You just kind of get the sense that, Schefter kind of represents kind of the base instinct of ESPN to shill for the NFL. He was just pissed off at Olbermann during his run at Goodell. So I have to think that probably ever since then, the NFL was like, you should get rid of this guy. And like I said last week, ESPN needed Olbermann because anytime anyone accused them of being the propaganda arm of the NFL, they're like, no, look, we got Keith Olbermann, who's always calling for Roger Goodell to be fired or shot into the sun.
Here's part of ESPN's official statement. We wish Keith nothing but the best and trust that his skill and ability will lead him to another promising endeavor. It's a business decision to move in another direction.
Right. The business decision meaning the NFL said, get rid of this guy, and we said, absolutely, would you like us to shoot him by firing squad, hang him? What would you like us to do?
But, of course, they deny all that, too.
Would you respect ESPN more with this decision if they just came right out and said, look, we can't have our personalities criticizing the NFL or the you know what I mean?
Here's the actual quote, which you read straight through this bullshit language.
Yeah.
While the show's content was distinctive and extremely high quality, we ultimately made a business decision to move in another direction. It's like he was really good at what he did, but it wasn't good for our bottom line.
Right.
I don't know if I would respect them more, Greg, because I think at that point when you're just openly doing the NFL's bidding, there's not much respect left there, but I would appreciate it more, I guess.
That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say. Respect is probably the wrong word.
Yeah, I'd appreciate more. I'd be like, hey, well, at least you're being honest, because right now, 30 for 30 is still there, I guess.
For the time being.
But right now, it's almost like you might as well just come out and rename it NFL Propaganda Division, because that's basically what it is.
Oh.
So Keith has until the end of the month on his contract still.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he'll still do his show through the end of the month? Or is he going to pull Simmons and just stop?
With Simmons, it was a decision ESPN made not to let him come back. I think that they trust Olbermann more not to do the scorched earth thing before he leaves. I think Olbermann will be a pro about it.
Wouldn't it be amazing if on his final show he just goes out guns blazing and calls out ESPN on its shit?
It'd be great, but I don't think it would be smart.
My contract's not being renewed because our company is a shill for the NFL, and then just cuts them down one after the other, the other.
I've got the documents.
That would be amazing.
I think it would be great, and it's probably something that absolutely needs to be done, but I think that he's more of a pro than that, and I think he wants to get another job somewhere.
I don't know. I mean, let's be honest here. I like Keith Olbermann. I'll even go say I liked Keith Olbermann when he was doing politics, but let's be perfectly honest here. He's not above burning bridges to the ground.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
I think I've seen his because I like Olbermann's broadcasting. I think he's good at it, so I've gone back and watched some of his old stuff. And I found the video of his final segment on MSNBC. He didn't do Scorched Earth there.
No.
He just said, it was great that I had the show. It was a great experience and all that and whatever. And he was good about it there. So even though it would be fun if he did the Scorched Earth at ESPN, he's probably going to do the same thing. Like, I had fun doing the show for 2 years, and hopefully I can find something else to do. Good luck to everybody.
Yeah, that's the route I think he'll go. While it would be awesome for him to come out and just call it as it is, but I don't think he does that.
Does he go back to, politically oriented news, or do you think he does something in the sports realm?
I think that the political thing, and maybe it's just because I don't pay any attention to it anymore, but I think that whole thing is kind of losing some of its steam. I've heard that there's a lot of radio stations that aren't renewing Rush Limbaugh. You don't hear near as much about
Bill O'Reilly anymore.
Bill O'Reilly and all that
Right.
anymore. And I think it's just a changing attitude, or what, I think people are just interested in other things. So
I think people can only deal with being yelled at by talking heads for so long before they just sort of tune it out.
and you have to keep ratcheting it up to keep people interested, and eventually you just reach critical mass where there's nowhere left to go.
And I'm someone who 9 times out of 10 I was right with Keith Olbermann when it came to politics, but even I was like, all right, dude, you could probably pull it back. Maybe 10%.
Just dial it down a notch.
Yeah.
10, 15%, maybe. Just pull it back. Just
Right.
like,
The thing with any of these political shows now, though, is they're talking directly at their specific audience. They're not trying to please anybody else. Then, like, Fox News is going to talk to its conservative base, and MSNBC is going to talk to its liberal base.
and CNN's going to flounder around helplessly.
And
in the middle.
CNN's not
gonna
talking to
cover Lost
anybody.
Plains for $200.
Did you guys see the CNN ISIS flag debacle?
Yeah, that was pretty fucking funny, I thought.
I think, actually, when we bring up CNN, though, I think that'd be an interesting place for Keith to go. Because he could do a little bit of everything there, and he'd be under the Turner umbrella to do baseball, in theory. I don't know if CNN would commit to a sports show every single day on their air, because God forbid anything cuts into them having 700 straight hours of running the Bulls or something. Somebody else brought up HBO, like, is doing a weekly show, like Bill Maher or John Oliver do.
I don't think that's his. I don't think he wants to go that route. I mean, maybe
Neither
he does,
do I.
but I don't see it.
I still think, and again, people keep saying, Rupert Murdoch, but I still think that Fox Sports 1, if you take the politics out of it, is the best fit.
But with Keith Olbermann,
you're not taking the politics out of it, right?
Hell, okay, so on his show, he tried to stay away from politics as much as he could, but if there was a way to loop a current political story in with a sports story, he took that opportunity at every shot.
Yes, he did.
Including any opportunity to bash Bill O'Reilly, which he did a couple times, is calling Bill O'Reilly like his worst person in the sports world, because O'Reilly would go onto a sports show and talk about his sports history that's, I guess, falsified.
Bill O'Reilly didn't win 300 games in the major leagues?
No, well, Bill O'Reilly's story is that he played varsity football in college.
That's right.
But
it was a club team.
But it was a club team, and then O'Reilly said, no, it was varsity in the sense that we played Georgetown and Fordham and Iona. It's like, okay, whatever. And then he also said something about the Mets gave him a tryout, and while he was at the tryout, some rookie that he hadn't seen before came out on the mound and blew everybody away, and it was Tom Seaver.
Okay.
Except supposedly when Bill O'Reilly did that tryout, he was 18, and when Tom Seaver was a rookie, Bill O'Reilly was actually a senior in college, not a senior in high school.
Well, O'Reilly's been caught numerous times embellishing his past.
Right. When
that sort of stuff came up, Olbermann was quick to like, oh, good, I get to poke the bear again. The other thing that I thought about that's entirely possible, maybe he just takes some time off.
Yeah.
He just doesn't do anything.
Like Mike said, and I agree, I think we all agree that Fox Sports 1 is an ideal spot for him. And I'm not going to rule it out entirely because stranger things have happened, but probably...
And at the end of the day, money talks.
Right. Like I said last week, I would rather have a check from Rupert Murdoch than no check at all. I think at the end of the day, he ends up at MLB Network. It's the perfect spot for him. He loses the football and he loses all the other stuff, but the guy loves baseball.
I always loved when he went to bat for the NHL during the NHL NBA playoffs. He'd yell at people for watching the NBA over the NHL.
Yeah.
You only think it's better because you're told it's better.
No, I always appreciated that he would, even if it was like he had a whole rant on Phil Kessel the other day, which is something I want to bring up later.
Oh, Phil Kessel's
Hot Dog Gate.
Hot Dog Gate, yes.
Oh, no, poor Phil.
Have you heard about that, Greg?
He eats a hot dog every day or something like that, and the Toronto media got on him about it?
Possibly. We don't know. There's a lot of...
there's some misstrewn information there.
Okay.
Because, of course, only the Toronto media would care about what a Maple Leaf player was eating each day.
Phil's he's a little chunky. I mean, maybe they have a point. I don't know.
Well, let's move on to that right now since we're talking about it.
Okay.
The story that happened was, so Phil gets traded. Toronto Sun columnist Steve Simmons writes this article basically calling him fat and lazy and not a great leader. But he leads it off by saying, every day at about 2:30, Phil would come out of his neighborhood condominium and get a hot dog at the hot dog stand at the corner of Front and something street. Basically saying that he ate a hot dog every single day.
And this made him fat.
Here's the problem with that. Phil didn't actually live out in front of this hot dog stand like the author said. Phil lived a mile and a half away. Like, it would have been basically a 3-mile round trip for Phil to go get this hot dog and then go back to his apartment. Basically, it was the cherry on top of the Toronto media piling on Phil Kessel after leaving in what really is misguided anger.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing with Phil Kessel, right? He was in Toronto for 6 years. How many years was he the leading scorer for the Maple Leafs, Mike? All 6 of those years.
I was going to say 6,
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't – Phil Kessel wasn't like I've said, Phil Kessel wasn't the problem. The problem was that they put him in the wrong role.
Well, and one of those seasons they were this close to – and I hate to bring this up again, Mike, but they were short of a horrible playoff collapse. They were on a pretty nice run in the playoffs.
Yeah,
seasons too.
And Kessel didn't, pull a disappearing act in those playoffs. I mean, he pulled his weight. Not to mention Phil Kessel's weight, but he pulled it during that series.
He had to pull extra hard.
Oh, yeah. But
this reminds me a little bit of Chicago and Jay Cutler, I think.
Yeah, it reminds me of Boston too. Every time somebody leaves Boston, for whatever team, they get kicked out the door.
The thing with Phil, though, is that he had a contentious history with the Toronto sports media, which I think is making it worse.
What if I eat a hot dog every day? What does it matter to you? I score goals. Screw you.
The problem with Phil was that you actually just kind of got the feeling, and Brian Burke actually shed some light on this in a move, where Brian Burke's actually informative about something. He mentioned about how he was not all that impressed with Phil Kessel when he was watching the interviews when he was a rookie, prior to the draft, where they'd interview all the prospects, because Phil Kessel is actually just a really awkward person. And when he's on camera, he's incredibly awkward. So you had Phil Kessel, who kind of an antisocial guy, thrust in a position where he had to talk to some of the most demanding hockey reporters in the world on a daily basis. And things got a bit salty.
I would think that playing hockey in Toronto is the equivalent of, say, being a baseball player or football player in New York.
It is. You just got... Honestly, the best attitude that you just have to take is just to have a fuck it attitude, to be like, whatever. You just can't give a shit.
Right, because no matter what you do, you're not going to please all of them all of the time.
No, exactly. Short of you single-handedly winning a Stanley Cup, everyone's always going to be out to get you. So, Phil Kessel, and, he had that breakdown. Granted, it took him 6 seasons. He held out longer than I thought. But, he finally had that breakdown. I was like, you guys don't have to talk to me every day.
It's stupid. And, Mike, do you know who Steve Dangle is?
I've heard the name.
He's just a Leafs fan that's very passionate. And
I deal with enough passionate Leafs fans on a day-to-day basis. I don't need to go to the internet for that.
Right. But he put out a video after Phil Kessel got traded, and he spent the entire video, basically defending Phil Kessel. Everyone is crapping on Phil now and talking about the hot dogs and all that. But the people to be mad at is not Phil Kessel. It is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, it's management for putting him in a position he shouldn't have been put in.
It's that they've replaced crappy management and replaced that crappy management with more crappy management, and that crappy management replaced by more crappy management, and they haven't been good, consistently good in a long time. They have not made a Stanley Cup final since they won the Stanley Cup in 1967.
Incidentally, though, the Leafs probably have the best management team in place that they've had in years now, and they don't even have a GM. So.
Which is right. Which kind of makes the point. But the best the Maple Leafs were since 67 was probably, 93?
93 and 94. They made it to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row, and then
got cut down by Gretzky in 93.
And then Pavel Bure in 94. And then you had 98, the year that the Stars won it. The Leafs actually made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, lost in 5 games to Buffalo.
It's just funny that such a pillar of hockey, a team that, if you ask Maple Leafs fans, Toronto's always regarded as the center of the hockey universe. It's just so funny that all of this importance is placed on Toronto, yet they've had essentially the Chicago Cubs of hockey.
More or less.
It is, which is why it's so frustrating, because the hockey fans in this area of the country, and I make fun of them all the time, but the fact is I'm one of them at the end of the day, and the fans here give a lot to the sport of hockey. We care a lot about hockey. The reason why there's a lot of emphasis put on it is probably because, save for Montreal, and I'd even say then it's probably neck and neck, hockey probably means more to us culturally than it does to anyone else, and that's all great, and we feel good about ourselves for that, but we'd also like to see our team win something of substance every now and then.
Actually, you know what? I take back the Cubs. You know who the Maple Leafs are?
Who?
They're the New York Knicks.
Woo!
Yeah.
How important do people make the New York Knicks out to be?
Very.
Yet how many championships have they won since the 60s?
The last time they won, I want to say, was in '73. I know they've won two that I'm aware of. They might have won more back in the early days, but there were two.
Is that they've only won like 2 or 3 titles.
Right, yeah.
No, we've got 13.
Right. Well, that was also one when there was like 4 other teams.
But I see what you're saying. It's like the Knicks, their importance is perceived to be far more than their actual relevance is, if that makes any sense.
Madison Square Garden's always regarded as the mecca of basketball. Yet they house this team that hasn't done
jack
anything.
They made the finals in '95, I think, right?
Wasn't it 99?
It was 99. Yeah, it was.
They lost to the Lakers one year, right?
Oh, okay, no, they lost to Houston. They lost to Houston.
They lost to the Spurs.
They lost to the Spurs. No. Houston beat the Magic and someone else.
Houston beat the Knicks in one of those finals that they won.
The Knicks made the finals in '94 and lost to
the Rockets, right?
Rockets.
Yeah.
And they made the finals in '99
and lost to the Spurs.
And lost to the Spurs, yes.
Did they win the championship in '73? I want to say they won the last one in '73.
70 and '73. They have 2 NBA titles.
And that's it?
That's it. 8 conference titles and 5 division titles.
And that's it?
And they've been a franchise since 1946.
So basically the Cleveland Cavaliers have been to just as many finals since 1973 as the New York Knicks have, which would be 2.
Yeah, because those were the only 2 conference titles they had since '73.
If you're asking, Zach, why all this emphasis is placed on Toronto, that's why.
I know why it's there. I just. Mm-hmm.
But using
the Maple Leafs should have been better by now.
No, and using the Knicks as a comparison is a good comparison. That's really a lot like what it is, because, like I said, the relevance is nowhere near what their stature is.
They should. They should have been better by now, and for a while it looked like they were going to be. I think the crappy management placed by crappy management is a bit of an exaggeration, because they were a consistent playoff team from the early 90s through the mid-2000s. It's not like this string of failures stretching back decades upon decades. They were on generally the right path for about a solid 10 years before the wheels fell off.
I'm looking at Phil Kessel's stats right now. 82 points in 2011, 2012. 52 in the shortened season. That was the year you got knocked out by Boston, right?
Yeah.
So 52 points in 48 games, I don't think it's too terribly bad.
No. Phil Kessel's numbers were never the problem.
Yeah, 37 goals the year before last, and 25 and 36 last year. But that was a really bad team, if I remember right.
No, yeah. It was. No. The thing with Phil Kessel, right, is that he was the perfect Scottie Pippen. They just never found his Jordan.
Right.
Yeah. Which is why now him going to Pittsburgh to play with either Crosby or Malkin, he's going to put up big numbers next year.
Part of me thinks that they should have kept him in Toronto and then, tried to have found his Jordan, but at the same time,
it was poison at this point.
Yeah, it is poison. I don't want to say that like I'm piling on to Phil Kessel, because I'm not. It wasn't his fault, but at the same time, the culture had already kind of taken that turn where it just wasn't going to work, and it was for everyone's benefit that he goes somewhere else.
From a hockey sense, they probably should have traded Dion Phaneuf, not.
No, we need to leave Dion alone, you see. It's not his fault.
You need to leave Dion on the side of the road, is what you need to do.
It's not his fault.
While we're talking hockey really quick, I just want to point out that not only did the Columbus Blue Jackets trade for Brandon Saad, they signed him to a 6-year deal, folks.
They did.
Brother ain't going nowhere for a while.
Ryan Johansson and Brandon Saad.
That's going to be
running
nice.
mates for life.
Yeah.
That Pittsburgh-Columbus rivalry is going to be interesting.
I think so.
That might be the rivalry in the Metro Division, Greg.
I think it's going to be the rivalry. A lot of people were making a big deal out of TJ Oshie to Washington, but honestly, besides that shootout move, what does he really have?
He's only scored 20 goals once.
Yeah.
In his career.
So it's like, I know.
That gets you Enterprise commercials.
Like, okay, America, I know that you all love Oshie because he scored that shootout against Russia at the Olympics, but
remember,
that team wasn't very good.
But hey, Brian Burke had a dream that TJ Oshie would score in a shootout, and that's why he put him on that team instead of guys like Bobby Ryan who were good. And damn it,
Seth Jones.
Damn it, he did it.
Yeah, and
it got them a blowout in the third place game against Finland.
The National Football League. Do we want to talk about what's his name from the 49ers being charged with false imprisonment and all that, or is that just that's basically another day at the office for the NFL?
Yeah, another day at the office. But the NFL has agreed to a 10-year partnership with Tottenham Hotspur over in London, England.
Woo!
To host the International Series games at the Premier League club's new stadium, which opens in 2018. It will open in Tottenham's brand new stadium, which holds 61,000 spectators. Tottenham, not to screw up their own football pitch, they are going to have a retractable thing, and underneath it will be
It's called a field, Zach.
Since we're talking about English soccer, this one's the pitch. Underneath it, it will be a artificial turf field. For football. For football.
So basically, you've got essentially two pieces of the same thing, and one's called the pitch and the other one's called the field.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though they're almost exactly alike.
My favorite thing is the quote from the mayor of London, Boris Johnson.
He's hilarious. He's the British Rob Ford.
Yeah, okay, here's going to be my terrible British impression, all right? Everybody ready?
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who has seen American football at Wembley Stadium cannot fail to have been thrilled by the spectacle. The wise heads that run the NFL clearly have not missed out that Londoners are going absolutely gangbusters for gridiron. Touchdowns in Tottenham can only add to our reputation as a global sporting powerhouse and help us take another step forward towards our goal of having a permanent NFL franchise here in London.
Oh, no.
So they're going at gangbusters for gridiron and touchdowns in Tottenham.
Right.
See, I thought when you said
Greg, to help you out, it's not Tottenham, it's Tottenham.
It's Tottenham. Damn it. In America, it's Tottenham. Sorry.
Tottenham.
in American.
That's right. We speak American down in these parts.
See, when you said you were going to do a British accent, Zach, I was expecting Cockney.
Yeah, it wasn't half bad, really.
All right. Anyone who sees American football at Wembley Stadium can going absolutely gangbusters for gridiron.
Governor.
Well, you know, speaking of the NFL and the footballs and all that, we are probably about a month or maybe a little over a month away from the
football. You just merely adopted it.
season 3 of basically a football show.
Coming soon
to a theater near you.
With apparently guest host Bane.
Yes. You were born in the football. I was born in it. You merely adopted it.
Okay, but so basically NFL is going to partner up with this new Tottenham stadium, whatever.
But they just won't let this go, will they?
The permanent London franchise.
It's never going to happen. It will never happen.
It's logistically impossible.
It's going to happen. It's going to absolutely. Look, the NFL is so freaking full of itself. They think they can pull this off.
But this is such logistical hell.
I know, but look. Here's a perfect comparison. This is going to be London is going to be the NFL's Phoenix or Glendale. That's what it's going to turn into.
Fly to Phoenix, like in reasonable time.
I know.
If you're the Chargers and you're scheduled to play the London Silly Nannies,
yeah,
it's a Family Guy reference. How do you schedule that? I guess you have to play a team on the East Coast, and then fly over to London,
right?
Practice there for the week, and then you get a bye week after you play them.
I don't know how they're going to work.
I mean, you'd have to radically alter the schedule to suit one team.
And the London team would have to have a practice facility in the States.
Yeah.
Because God knows they're not going to fly back and forth to London just to practice every week.
Right. What if it's just simply a matter of they're going to play the games there and nothing else? Practices, so say Okay, like
then
if
what's the point?
because you still have a franchise.
Because you still get to say we have a team in London.
I understand that, but like when you think of what a team does in the community of its city, if they're not actually living there and just flying over to play games, what is the point?
Well, I'll take it a step further.
Money,
what's the point of even having a team in London? Period. But I think that's a possibility of how it could work.
I think obviously the whole thing's for money, but at the baseline, sports teams are community
entities.
I completely agree with everything you're saying. I just think that you're looking at it from a rational perspective as opposed to the NFL perspective, which is completely different.
But see, here's the thing. I'll be the first to admit the NFL is completely divorced from reality. That being said, however, I think the logistics of a team in London are so impossible that every time the NFL starts to ramp itself up for it, they hit that wall, and then they talk about it, and then they talk about possible solutions, and nothing works, and then they forget about it, and then they bring it up again. It's one of those things that they should have dismissed like 5 years ago just due to impracticality. This is going to be a perpetual cycle. They're going to make a lot of noise about a team in London. Then they're going to look at the practical of what they actually need to do to make it work. Then they're going to go, oh, well, I guess it's not the right time for it. And then it'll, simmer down. They'll give it lip service, but it'll simmer down for a while. And then it'll ramp back up again, and the cycle will repeat itself. But, I think that the hurdle to making it work in London is so big that not even the NFL's ability to ignore reality will be able to overcome it.
Something that we have not discussed in the entire time we've talked about this idiotic idea of putting a team in London – the Players Association would never go for it. You know how high the freaking taxes are in England compared to the United States on payrolls and stuff?
Well, that's what I mean. Would they be paid as employees of the NFL?
But you got to pay taxes where you live.
Yeah.
Or where you work, for that matter. Yeah.
But that's what I'm... Well,
I don't see the Players Association. I mean, I don't know. Now, Mike, but you probably know better than I do, but I think the income tax bracket over there is pretty damn steep.
In comparison to the United States, it is, and you could try to get around, but it's like, oh, they're not British citizens. They're not living there, but at the same time, the British government, right, isn't going to see that huge money machine that is the NFL set up shop in their country and not pay tax. They're going to be like, no, we're getting a piece of this.
Right, exactly. I work in a different town than the one I live in, and I have to pay city taxes to the town I work in, as well as the town I live in. So you add all that in. I mean, it's just from a tax situation alone, I don't see the NFLPA ever going for it. Like,
I think they can probably work it to say like the players get paid by the NFL office in New York, not by the team.
It furthers your question of what's the point.
No, exactly.
No, they could probably try to find workarounds all they want. But at the same time, that's not going to stop the British government from seeing this money machine sitting there in their country. They're going to the British the NFL can use as much doublespeak as they want to get around having to pay British taxes. The British government isn't going to have any of it.
Exactly. It's just, I think you're right, Mike. I think it's just a perpetual cycle, just trying to keep interest in the NFL as high as they can in London without actually ever doing anything other than playing a game or two over there every year, which is, if you got to have a presence over there, as stupid as this is, it's probably the best option at this point.
And as far as keeping interest up, another reason why they might want to do that is it's looking more and more likely that the NFL will go back to Los Angeles in some form within the next few years.
Yeah.
So once you have two teams in LA, and there will be two teams in LA, just it's a matter of which teams. But once you have two teams there, then every other team loses the LA threat for a new stadium.
Right.
So now, if you build up London successfully, even if you never plan on putting a team there,
still got that to hang over the heads of the other towns. Yeah.
So.
But from a logistical standpoint, I can't see how it could possibly work.
At the end of the day, is it worth it?
No.
Is having a permanent franchise there any more worth it than just simply playing the 2 games a year that they're scheduled to play as they are?
I don't
because
think
the other thing is, with just the 2 games a year, you increase the demand and lower the supply, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's people. It's the tickets aren't as readily available. If there's a team over there all the time, people will stop caring.
Not only that, but how hard is it going to be to field a competitive team in London? No free agents are going to want to go there.
Well, and I mean, you can do all these things to try and accommodate the schedule during the regular season. What if the team is like a top seed in the playoffs?
Right.
And they have to host the home games and things like that.
There's so many problems with it. I can't believe it ever made it past the drawing board.
It's one of those things where, yeah, you could finagle the schedule to make it work. But as Zach said, it's not worth it. At a certain point, you kind of have to go, guys, is it worth it to bend over backwards to accommodate one team?
The only thing that even makes it remotely feasible is if the Concorde were still in existence. Or you could get there in 3 hours, then maybe.
They should bring the Concorde back.
Oh, absolutely. That thing's fucking cool. Did you ever see that documentary they did on it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. I want to fly on that thing so bad. It is so
They got rid of
awesome.
it because it crashed once, right?
Yeah, I think that, and it was just so expensive. The upkeep was just so expensive, and the maintenance and all that. But holy hell, did that thing kick ass. Man, oh, man, was that something.
Yeah.
The NFL could buy all of the remaining Concords and refurbish them and just have, like, NFL Airlines.
Yeah.
And just
the NFL could afford
shuttle
it.
teams to London.
But honestly, if you want to make it even remotely feasible, you have to get the Concorde involved somehow because that cuts the flight time down to like 3 hours out of New York. Mm-hmm. That's doable. It's still not great, but it's better than what we have right now. But I mean, what we're talking about here, though, you got to bring back the Concorde in order to make this work. Yeah. I mean, come on.
But another thing to keep in mind is the television. The UK is, I believe, it's 5 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time.
That's right.
Well, what they're doing this year is they're doing the 2 London games at, I think it's 6 a.m. Pacific, so 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
So you'd have to start the NFL broadcasting schedule, at least for the weeks where they would be playing at home. So at least half the year would have, the NFL schedule would have to start at 9 a.m. Eastern.
They have no problem with that.
No,
They'd love that.
Oh, yeah.
I guess, but at the same time, their television partners might not love it because I know ESPN builds their ESPN, even like Fox Sports, they all build their pregame shows around that early morning.
Yeah.
So I don't know how
I get up to watch NFL at 10 a.m.
You live in the bastard backwater time zone, okay? So, quiet.
I live in the best time zone to watch sports. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he really kind of does.
Quiet Pacific Standard.
I watch sports start at 4,
yeah.
done by 10.
Right.
I can do whatever the hell I want.
Exactly. It'd be great.
NFL Sundays, football starts at 10. Second game's over by 4. If I don't want to watch the night game, I can go do whatever I want.
Yeah, he's got it all wrapped up by 4 o'clock.
Game's over by 9.
Yeah.
Monday Night Football starts at 5. Great. You kidding me?
The London thing is a bad idea, but the West Coast thing,
before they start expanding to London, they should think about
maybe fix Jacksonville and a couple other places.
Jacksonville, I think, but if they're going to go to a different country, if Toronto's not actually going to work, didn't they only do one game down in Mexico City? Did they do 2?
I remember one of them had the Cardinals in it.
It was
Cowboys.
49ers.
The Cowboys played in Mexico City once. I know that.
Right.
Those are preseason games, weren't they?
I think.
No.
The Cardinals 49ers one was a regular season game.
Okay.
This was Monday Night Football.
I'll tell you why Mexico's never going to work, though. It's too politically unstable.
Yeah, you guys. I mean, you can't. There's too many problems there, yeah.
You're going to stick a team full of millionaire American athletes in a country where foreigners are routinely kidnapped and ransomed?
Exactly.
Well, true.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I'm trying to think of any other league in the entire world where the league spans an ocean.
The closest I can think of...
I think the rugby league... No, I'm serious. I think... The rugby league consists of a team in South Africa, New Zealand, and Australia.
The British Rugby League has teams across the British Isles and then one team in France.
Right, but that's still all together.
It's the English Channel. Hitler couldn't cross it.
There's a tunnel. There's a tunnel.
There is a tunnel.
Yeah, the English Channel is only, 30 miles or something like that, or 50 kilometers?
But it's a rough 30.
People swim across it, man. Come on.
Okay, yeah. The Super Rugby League is it's a club. It's like a professional rugby league. It has 5 teams in Australia, 5 in New Zealand, and 5 in South Africa.
Wow, that's a haul from Australia to South Africa, isn't it?
Right.
I got to think.
I imagine at that point you just have the 5 play amongst themselves and then have the 3 champions do a round robin in some.
No, I know for a fact they play each other.
Oh, that's stupid.
Well, good, but good for them. I mean, that's all well and good if it works for them, but it's still. Didn't you say there were 5 teams in New Zealand, 5 in Australia, and 5 in South Africa, or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not just one team. They're all by itself while everybody else is playing across the ocean. You've got other teams in that country. Like if you want to, the NFL wants to put a European division together, then I guess fine.
They did that for a while.
NFL Europe's a great idea.
I thought it was too. I'm still surprised it didn't work.
Yeah.
Apparently, it started off strong, but then it just kind of became NFL Germany.
Well, you know what? I think a big problem with it was that the quality of play just wasn't that good. I would watch some of the games and like, God, this isn't even as good as like a Toledo Bowling Green game sometimes.
I just don't think it's going to work.
No.
And I don't think it's ever going to happen. I think it's one of those things that periodically the NFL owners will start thinking about, and then like reality sets in. Like, well, the NFL doesn't have the power to bend space and time yet, so
Not yet. Ladies and gentlemen, Zach's Tabs.
Zach's Tabs America Edition.
Damn right.
Yeah, because, we had 4th of July, and of course, what better to celebrate the 4th of July than on the 5th of July, the United States women's national soccer team kicking the piss out of Japan.
Remember Pearl Harbor!
Just dropping bombs on them like it's Hiroshima.
Oh!
You knew we were going to go there. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have the soundtrack from Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor queued up?
My God, what a shitty movie that was. Oh, Lord.
I mean, 2 minutes in, they score a first goal. It's like, okay, that's a really good start.
They've already scored a goal. As far as soccer goes, they're ahead of the game.
Way ahead.
And then, like, a minute later, they score a second goal. It's like, holy shit, look at this. We're doing so great. Then, like, 5 minutes later, they score a third goal. The hell is happening? 2 minutes later, the goalie was playing way out of her line for some stupid reason. So Carly Lloyd sees that, just drills this thing to the back of the net from the midfield line
Nice.
for a 4-0 lead 16 minutes into this game, and at that point it's over. Eventually Japan got a goal to end the U.S.'s amazing shutout streak, and then they got another goal, and all of a sudden it was 4-2, and it's like, well, maybe it's a game, and then we scored another goal because, no, it's not a game. America wins 5-2. They win their 3rd Women's World Cup and earn that 3rd star on their jersey.
Wearing the proud American colors of white, gunmetal gray, and Volt.
It makes you proud to be an American, Mike, let me tell you.
These colors don't run.
That's right. Our black, white, and Volt do not run, damn it. So good for them. They won the World Cup and the 3 stars and all that. And
Sepp Blatter was not there.
Sepp Blatter's not there because he
was
didn't
afraid
want to get arrested and extradited to the United States.
He was afraid the Mounties were going to arrest him.
Yes. On Canadian soil, the United States ousts Japan.
As Zach is the resident soccer fan, I want to ask him.
Also, the Gold Cup started this week, so go U.S. men's team capture the Gold Cup.
whatever.
Go Canada!
Does Jamaica have a team in this?
They do.
Go Jamaica.
I don't know who I'm going to root for then. Yeah, I don't know, Jamaica, I guess.
Come on, I want to see a bunch of stoners win the whatever they get.
Bunch of Rastafarians.
Right, exactly.
But
You guys are racist.
I guess the thing I want to ask Zach is how inevitable, super serious this time we mean it is soccer's ascension now that the women have captured World Cup glory. I mean, is it now super inevitable? We mean it this time, or is it just
no? I don't think the women's team gets that same conversation rolling.
I'm just going off what Twitter has been telling me.
Oh God, are they at that? Are they at it again?
Apparently, this was going to lead to eclipsing baseball in 15 years,
Yeah,
right?
I've been hearing that shit. I mean, there was somebody that posted something like that from the late 50s. They said that nonsense.
If the men's team ever won the World Cup, I'd give it more legitimacy. The Women's World Cup.
That's not going to happen.
I'm
quoting the men's team's coach on that.
Well, Jurgen Klinsmann is also an arrogant ass. But
he said he wasn't going to win. How is he arrogant?
Did Hope Solo beat up anybody in this thing?
Yeah.
No.
Not too bad.
With the women's team, the only time you see the women play are when they're representing the U.S., and it's always easy to get somebody to rally behind the Stars and Stripes in a world competition, right?
Even when they're black and white, we still rally behind them.
Right.
Yeah.
No, which is my point. The North America gets all soccer crazy every 4 years for the World Cup, but it never seems to translate into any long-term sustained Major League Soccer growth.
Maybe it's just a time to kind of realize what's going on. I mean, and it's not a bad thing. It's just what it is. But maybe that the interest in soccer has just kind of reached a level. It hasn't declined any, right, that we know of. So maybe it's just kind of peaked. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's doing – I'll tell you this. Soccer is a hell of a lot more popular now than it was, say, when I was in high school. So there's that. I mean, it has achieved some popularity over the years. Moving on.
Anyway, you brought it up last week, Greg. Dodger Films?
Yes.
Did you hear what happened to him?
No. Oh, no. Jeez.
Got a cease and desist.
No.
By MLB.
Son of a bitch. Really?
Right.
See, people must really listen to this show because no one was bothering him. I bring him up, and guess what? They shut him down. Just like that.
Well, they brought him down because he was showing game footage, right?
Right, yeah.
Without the express written permission
of Major League Baseball.
Right. He says that he's not going to be making anything else in terms of videos until something's worked out. But do you think MLB would be really mad if he took video of batting practice?
I don't know what the rules are regarding batting practice. I honestly don't see what – I mean, I get it.
Well,
he's
the other
showing
thing is
game
he's been doing
footage
this for like 8 years.
Yeah, it goes back a ways.
And the Dodgers have worked with him and wrote articles about him in their game programs.
What's his name on that? The closing pitcher for the Cardinals watches Dodger Films. What's his name?
Yeah.
Rosenthal?
Rosenthal, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, I
First name Matt.
It's Matt or Matt. I can't remember one or the other.
It's Trevor Rosenthal.
Yeah. But I get where MLB's coming from, but I also think that he's not showing entire games. It's like a couple of highlights here and there. I don't see the harm, but if you set that precedent, then everybody does it, and all of a sudden MLB is fighting everybody for web content. But as far as batting practice goes, I don't know what the rules are. I can't imagine they have rules against it, do they?
That would be an interesting court case, actually. Does batting practice and, thus do warm-ups of any sport constitute as quote-unquote game footage?
I would say it's probably written that way, that it does, even though it isn't. Mm-hmm. I would say it's probably written that way just for cases like this. Mm-hmm. Here's my thing. Why didn't they notice for 8 years until all of a sudden
they did notice, as Zach brought up.
Well, and MLB's put clips of his videos on MLB's website.
Yeah. I'm just amazed that, I had never even heard of the damn thing until last week, and now it's gone. Too bad. All right.
Anyway.
What's next?
Just before we get to that kind of developing news, apparently Keith Olbermann's opening story today is criticizing ESPN. I have no more news than that. It's just something I've read on the boards currently.
Yeah,
we'll have to monitor this development.
Keith Olbermann could very well be setting fire to those bridges.
Going scorched earth, bitches. All right.
Okay, Keith.
He's out of networks. He might as well, right?
Yeah, he's burnt through them all. Sometimes twice.
Okay. Awesome. What's next?
Member of the boards, Conrad Burry, I believe his full name is. Well, he found some interesting photo evidence. These are logos from the Los Angeles Clippers organization. These were logos produced for merchandise only after the original logo was already made. But these are logos that were made for merchandise purposes, and every single logo that was produced in these trials better than what they chose previously.
Yeah. Not just better, but a lot better. A lot better.
Hey, some of these things actually have anchors and ship wheels.
Some of these
compasses.
Are really, really nice. What the hell were they thinking?
Some of these are pretty great. Well, these were all made after they picked the logo already. They picked the current logo they have, the stupid LAC and the rectangle and the Nautical Horizon garbage. They picked that. Then they said, okay, well, we need logos for merchandise. So they got some graphic designers to commission these logos for merchandising purposes, and all of these are better team logos than the one they were going off of already.
The worst one is 20 times better than the one they went with.
Any of these. Literally pick any one of these. Any of these is better.
There's 4 pictures. There's ones that have anchors, which are awesome. There are ones that have ship wheels, which are great. I think my favorite one is in the second image. There's one where the anchor is tilted on its side and it makes a C.
Yeah.
With basketball. I think that's pretty damn smart.
I like the one. It's in the second image. It's the first one. The blue shipping wheel. It says LA Clippers across it in red.
That's not bad either.
Yeah, I mean, just so much. And you know that people in the organization got it because, as you pointed out, Zach, when they unveiled their current logo, it was on the sail of a sailing ship, right? Yeah. So was it just a case of like Ballmer's kid made the current logo and paint, so they went with it? I
think we talked about it when it first happened. I think they were in such a hurry, they just grabbed the first thing and ran with it. And boy, did they make a mistake. Mm-hmm. I mean, a huge mistake. I think my favorite one is in the first image, the bottom one, because it combines the anchor and kind of like a compass nautical theme, which is kind of cool. Yeah, but they're all great. Every single one of these is better than what they went with eventually. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. What a bunch of dumbasses.
I mean, it's one thing to choose a bad logo out of a choice of bad logos, but wow, like every single one.
And also what does this say that they made the logo, and then they said, well, we need different, better logos for the merchandise.
Look, nobody's going to buy our crap if it's got this piece of shit on it.
They're right. They can't stop clippering no matter how hard they try.
To finish this up, I have a quick lightning round of dumb humans.
Okay.
In Calgary on Sunday, there was a man charged in a balloon flight. This is the police report from the Calgary Police Service. At approximately 7:30 p.m. on Sunday, July 5th, a man was spotted floating in a chair with more than 100 balloons attached.
Oh, I saw this on CBC. Yeah.
He was first spotted above the block of this avenue. Observed the man maneuver the chair south towards the downtown area. As he approached the downtown area, the man jumped from the chair and opened a parachute attached to his back. He then landed in a green space. Although officers are not able to confirm his exact destination, the man indicated he was attempting to land in the Stampede grounds.
That's pretty cool. I think you just got to sit back and go, that's pretty cool, and leave him be, right?
He was charged with one count of mischief causing danger to life.
Mischief? That is a Canadian law.
Oh, yeah. So we arrested him. No incident, though. He didn't fight or anything. But we're going to give him just one count of mischief causing danger to life. So, he could have landed. He could have hit the tower. Who knows, right?
So this wasn't like a hot air balloon. This was what, like helium-filled balloons?
It was like Up. It's like the movie Up. Where
he attached a bunch of helium balloons to a lawn chair and lifted and flew.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now the next two are two dumb humans dying. I don't know which way to go.
Dumb humans dying are always funny, so just go with whichever one you feel like.
I'm gonna go with the first one because the second one I think is infinitely more hilarious.
Okay.
So the first one, a man in where was this? It's a small city in Maine, close to the Canadian border. A 22-year-old Devin Staples had been drinking and setting off fireworks with his friends.
That's never a good combination.
When he placed a mortar tube on his head, launched a firework, and died instantaneously.
That's just natural selection at work. That's
the Darwin Award favorite, I think.
Can we say that he literally blew his head off?
It's funny. The brother told the New York Daily News, there was no rushing into the hospital. There was no Devin left when I got there.
Sorry.
I can't even feel bad at that point. That is just natural selection in action. The person dumb enough to do that doesn't live long enough to pass his genes on to the next generation.
And thank goodness for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So basically, his brother was saying that there was no point in calling 911 because it was fairly obvious he was dead.
Yeah.
Most of his head was gone. There's probably no saving him.
We kind of figured when his head wasn't there anymore that there wasn't a whole lot that could be done, so we just went ahead and called the coroner's office instead.
Pretty much.
All right.
So now we move on to our final story.
Wait, there's one that was dumber than that?
In Orange, Texas, at Burkhart's Marina. Recently, at this marina, there had been alligator sightings. They had to put up a sign that said, "No swimming, alligators." So there was a man that had been drinking again a little bit, and he was telling people, "Man, I'm going to jump into that water." And everyone at the store was like, "Hey, don't jump in that water.
They're alligators."
There's alligators in the water. He went up to the dock, and a bystander again warned him, and somebody that worked there, like, "Hey, don't get in the water." The man said, "Fuck that alligator," jumped into the water, and almost immediately, an alligator came up from under the pier and attacked the man and dragged him down the river. 2 days later, authorities found an alligator with the remains of a man in his stomach.
Surprising that came from Texas, because you just don't hear of Texans doing a lot of dumb things like that, do you?
I was like drunk Texans.
Yeah.
When I heard alligator, I thought that sounded more like a Florida thing.
Yeah, really.
I mean, because we had that story last week about the guy who got into a knife fight over gumbo.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that was out of Florida. So I figured that, if anything would have gone wrong with alcohol and alligators, it would have been in Florida. But
well, hey, Texas is always right there trying to take the league lead in stupidity, and I think they picked up a game or two with this one.
I don't know. You've always got Kentucky, though. They're always the runaway favorites.
Yeah, not too bright down those parts.
So we had a man in Maine shoot a firework off his head, killing him. We had another man said, "Hey, there's alligators in the water." Fuck that alligator. Eaten by alligator.
God, I love America. I just love it.
It's the greatest country in the world, man.
It sure is.
Greatest country in the world.
Okay, is that it?
That's it. I mean, unless you want to see the Oakland A's hat for Jewish Heritage Night.
Oh, God.
Seriously?
We have to, don't we?
Yeah, it's a
thing?
It's a Hebrew character.
I might actually have to buy that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and free parking. You know what? I just realized that's kind of mean, Oakland A's. For Jewish Heritage Night, you offer free parking.
I'm surprised that no one else has picked up on that.
Oakland.
And with that, we're going to call it a day. Real quick, we want to give out some props to the gang over at Basically a Geek Show.
Yes.
Twitter followers up to like over 400. Nice work, boys.
408 last time I checked.
408 Twitter followers. Well done.
Hopefully, which now means that we have over 400 people to broadcast our episode updates with.
Speaking of Twitter, you can follow Basically a Sports Show, the flagship of the Basically a Podcast Network, at Basically Sports on Twitter. The website is basicallyasportshow.com. Spreaker, iTunes, Stitcher, and, of course, the YouTubes. And don't forget, we are just a little over a month away from Season 3 of Basically a Football Show. All right, so with that, we're going to call it a day. We will see you next time.
See ya.
Please hang up and try again.